A man dug out a box that had been gathering dust for many years in his backyard, filled with $400,000 in cash and a bleeding bat covered in blood. 19 years ago, he was arrested because of this bat. Go to jail. This man name is how he used to be a junior of a local gangster is Chris Snow as Bloodhound. This person is extremely cruel who insults people. He will always be given special care. When he saw the ball being hit out of the warehouse after receiving order to send his juniors out to search. But when he returned he saw a bloody scene. The angry boss suddenly, he used a basketball bat to send Duong off. After everything was over, the boss made a big promise to push him to go to prison on his behalf. But the agreed upon 5-year sentence ended up being 19 years, from a young man full of spirit to an old man with a face full of ups and downs of life. Not only that, he also suffered from severe insomnia. The doctor told him that if he did not rest, the end result can only be memory loss and death. Currently, there is no good treatment for this distance. Also because of this, how to have a chance to be released from prison early when paroled, and return to prison. These photos of his wife and children, his only spiritual support in the past 19 years, how to walk out of prison and see his son come to pick him up. After so many years, Doe has also grown up from an innocent boy, he become a big man. Looking at his son, face filled with up and down of life in his heart. Feeling extremely self-blame, that year, not long after he went to prison, his wife, who missed him too much, passed away. Young Joe became a man. As an orphan, Joy lived a wandering life and had a bad relationships with her father, so the relationships between the two was not harmonious, and it was all because of Big Brother Chris' plan to find Crit so he could pay. The price for the act of deceiving me that year was to return to my old house, dig in the backyard and find a man-year-old Duong, covered in dirt with $400,000 inside, and the floating ball bat that Quit had that year, used to kill someone, then took his son to a 5-star hotel. Starting from now he wanted to make up for everything his son had lost in the past. The two of them rented the presidential suite. It was a great way to take a hot shower afterwards. He took his son shopping for designer watches, stylish suits, expensive sports cars, and everything was arranged for his son to go through many torment. Joey gradually began to accept his father relationships. The relationships between the two has also softened, and the father and son have cleared the gap. They are more like a pair of brothers. Joey father doesn't have the courage to talk to the beautiful woman next to him, even though the ending still feels uncomfortable. But in the end he met the beautiful Jennifers. The two of them very quickly started dating. As their feelings grew deeper, it was time to celebrate properly. Wait until things calm down. How to start planning revenge. First, he went to find his friend Sleepyhead and was about to buy a bunch of weapon from him, but the guy guarding the door didn't recognize him. He even pulled out his weapon and put it down. Come here, my son want to do business with Sleepyhead. Sleepyhead has been dead for 6 years, so it won't affect our business. The girl who just said is Sleepyhead daughter. After her father passed away, she immediately took over the job. Dad's businessman thought about his best friend who had passed away and felt a little sad. The girl knew how to buy a gun this time, so she took him to the warehouse and gave him a Linu pistol with a muzzle. By the way, I also gave him the items. After taking a few items and led the way to look for my best friend in the gang, David. David is now running a pub. The brothers haven't seen each other for many years, tightly together. Then the way he expressed his intention to David this time, he came because he wanted to know Quit whereabouts, but David said Quit had died a long time ago, and not long after he went to prison Quit collapsed, and not long after that he passed away. Without doubting his close friend words, he asked about Jimmy and Jack, the two subordinates who gave advice to the boss. If it weren't for these two people, I wouldn't have had to go prison instead of the boss, but David said he would have left a lot. I still don't know. The other person knew for years. Are you sure? Are you sure now? Oh my God, can I swear? I really don't know where they are. Don't lie to me. I didn't lie to you. Do you believe me? The brother finally chose to believe that he had just returned to his residence. Not long after, the insomnia returned and the whole person began to feel sleepy and confused. At that moment, the brother remembered the doctor words. Tell him if he doesn't rest well, in the end, he just have to wait for death, knowing that he doesn't have much time left. He immediately attacks him. Going to Jiak favorite club that year really found enlightenments. Here, Cup was not surprised by the appearance of a very calm person throughout the process. At first, he wanted to ask him for details about what happened that year, but he did not expect that the other person would accidentally say Quit name, am still alive. After he finished, he realized he had said the wrong things, so he shot down his gun and jumped out of his chair. He immediately chased him out, but as soon as he got to the door, Trash attacked them both quickly fought, but soon fell into a disadvantageous position due to physical reasons. The weapon was also dropped by the opponent. The other person was Jimmy. He continued to strike more strongly at him. He tried to escape from control but waited. By the time he picked up the gun, the enemy had already run away. And then they way to find someone else was Jimmy. Jimmy became a pork butcher after leaving the gang. Faced with the way to find Jimmy, he showed a very calm expression, similar to a sense, but he was ready to accept death. Curiously, why didn't he run? I think I have been avoiding this for long enough. From Jimmy's mouth I also learned that Quit's son took him to hospital care nursing home, but he did not know the specific location of the nursing home, how to receive information, and did not show gratitude, but still shot and killed him. How to return to the hotel, find the waiter, ask the wait for help. I recorded all the nursing home, looking for Quit. During the search process, he suddenly received a phone call from his son asking for help, then hung up the phone right before he could finish speaking. He was extremely panicked and immediately turned around in the sports car. I ran to the address my son sent me and waited until I arrived, but saw my son lying on the bed about to die. It was obvious he had overdosed. I immediately started first aid. Luckily, I was able to save my son in time. My son's current situation is still the same. I blame myself. If I had stayed by my son's side, something like this would have happened, but now it's too late to say this. Early the next morning, father and son, I went to visit my dead wife's grave, but when I went to the grave, I saw my son grave next to me. It turned out to be 19 years ago, because he was in prison instead of Quit. Quit promised to take good care of his family 2 years ago. Quit suddenly ordered doesn't death, after finding out. He began to suffer from prolonged insomnia and eventually suffered from frequent insomnia because he missed his son so much. After being released prison, he always imagined that his son was by his side. Himself and everything they did to make up for his son was actually just a dream in his heart. Finally, he found out how to find the nursing home of his stroke victim from the nurse on duty. It had been 15 years since Quit lay in the hospital bed. It was clear that the information that his son was killed by the person he ordered to kill 2 years ago was not true, and he also learned a surprising piece of information from the nurse. For 15 years, there was only one person named David who came to visit and suddenly understood everything that David said. Quit was dead. It was a lie to me, so he prepared to go find David to ask for clarifications. The result was that as soon as he got out of the saw, he was injured. In the cold, he shot so fiercely that he didn't dare to take any risks. He could only spread quickly to avoid danger. The two sides started shooting at each other, but his gun weren't as strong as the other side, so he had to find a good countermeasure right now. He suddenly noticed Jack's leg, so he shot the bullet without any hesitation. Jack was hit by the bullet and lay down on the ground in pain, calmly walking forward. I had guessed that today is the day I die. There will be no other way from now on. Someone called you trash over here. David attended his daughter's funeral, but when he went to the room to rest, he saw how he was holding his daughter hostage with a gun. David wanted to stand in and stop him. As a result, he shot him and fired him without any hesitation. Now that the incident happened, David had to admit that his son was killed by him. It turned out that after Quit was suddenly possessed, David took over Quit business and entered the business. Not long after being in prison, his aunt has been addiction to drugs for several years, and has been coming to find him wanting money and drugs and becoming more and more immortal and threatening David. If he doesn't do it with his will, take everything. David's whole story told the police that David's threats were unbelievable, so he ordered his subordinates to kill him. After hearing this, he stood up, used a gun, and aimed at David. David hurriedly used his body to protect him, daughter, but in the end he still couldn't bear to take action. He had lost his son, so he didn't want this poor girl to lose her father, so he threw the gun on the floor and turned around towards the door. Then the girl came from behind. After shooting him, Lou was still not angry. Mr. Lou, his tired body, walked out of the church. At this moment, the police surrounded him with his hands behind his back. The police thought he had a gun, so everyone joined in. At one point, bullets were fired at him and he fell into a pool of blood in his hand. He was still holding a photo of his son. This is the end of the movie. Everyone, remember to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the movie. Bye bye.